Be Honest with Dr. Yana. Join me for honest conversations with experts, get practical advice that will help you to better navigate your relationships and empower you to create meaningful and lasting connections. Fridays on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back live on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM. And you are with us on Be Honest with Dr. Yana. Today, we will be discussing the dating landscape, the modern dating landscape, which has evolved rapidly with the rise of technology and changing social norms, and of course, giving rise to misunderstandings and confusion about the rules of dating between men and women at different ages and stages of life. But does it really change that much historically over the centuries? We will find out today with Dr. John Gray, the author of over 20 books, including New York Times best-selling relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. His books have sold over 50 million copies in 50 different languages around the world. And today we will be discussing Mars and Venus on a date. Hello, Dr. Gray.
Well, hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us today. I have had so much response from people, and they all loved our conversation. And I see that there is a lot of need for that.
I'm really happy to hear that. Not everybody likes my message, but most people do. It's when you're an activist trying to point out that men and women are not different, they see me as an enemy because the truth is very clear. Men and women are different, and men and women misunderstand each other quite a bit. And as that misunderstanding increases, what we see is people are remaining single and unhappy in their relationship. And you can see that happening today. So if we want to have successful relationships, we want to find our soulmate, if we want to find our love mate, however you want to call it, someone to share the rest of your life with, understanding our differences can help so much, particularly because we've all changed. As you mentioned in the introduction, has dating changed? Besides the technology side of it, we can go into that as well. Just simply the biggest change is women are more independent. We have a culture that supports and should support women's independence, but it doesn't yet support women in being independent and dependent. And that's what a relationship is. A relationship is I'm dependent on my wife for certain things. She's dependent on me for certain things. And if we don't have that feeling of trust that we can depend on each other for things that are meaningful to us, the love falls apart. Because ultimately, when we're falling in love, it's because we think, oh, with this person, my life will be different and I can depend on them for this or this or this. And a big part of it for men is, and this sounds so old fashioned, but the biology is such that when a man has a romantic physical intimacy with a woman, it dramatically changes his capacity to feel love. And women don't understand this because women can feel love in so many different ways. But one of the primary ways for a man to feel love for another human being is physical intimacy. That's the highest level. And you can see this because in romantic relationships, when they're still romantic and there's attraction, men will have the highest testosterone levels. That's the high testosterone, is physical attraction.
And well, what about their testosterone at the beginning of the dating dating scene, at the very beginning of the process? Because in your book, which is absolutely fantastic book, and like you mentioned right now, that not everybody receives your message, and the question is, which arises from here, do they want the result or do they want to continue to talk about it and oppose different views that actually work? So I know that you talk about 5 stages of dating, and I, in my own practice, have noticed that they are unchangeable stages, and everyone goes through them. And I'm so glad that you wrote on it, because those 5 stages, and if people listen to it and read your fantastic book, they will be able to create loving and lasting relationships, like you mentioned in your book.
Yeah, I have a lot of testimonials for people that found their partner and made it happen and living happily ever after. I've been doing this for 50 years. So I have a lot of people who follow those and say they made the whole process easier, help them find the right person, help them navigate through the whole dating process to getting married and then after marriage. So, because, those stages, and we'll talk about them. And I think what I'll do, Dr. Yana, is before going into the detail of every stage, I'll mention the 5 stages up front so people aren't waiting. Is he going to get to the next one or whatever? So, and we'll explain each one. But the first stage is you tend to navigate the world of attraction. Who are you attracted to? What are the right people to be attracted to? What are the red flags? How to make sure, what to do to make sure you're nurturing the attraction between the two of you. That's one. All the issues about feeling attracted to the right person or the wrong person. Step 2 is when you're feeling this might be the right person. Then what happens is doubt comes up. I call it the stage of uncertainty. Men react to their uncertainty stage differently than women do. Often women seek reassurance from the man when she's feeling uncertain. Would you like me? Do you love me? What are the signs? All that. Why didn't you call me back? Are we together? Are we not? Let's talk about the relationship. All those things will sabotage this stage because he's in the stage of I don't know. And being in a stage of I don't know doesn't mean that he knows it's wrong. It's I don't know. But when you ask a man a question, well, are we going somewhere? It's I don't know. And women will hear that as rejection. But she is coming from I don't know either because she's asking the question. Okay. Well, let's talk about the relationship is because she doesn't know. And that's what a way she unknowingly sabotages. What he does unknowingly is he will naturally lose interest in her, and he doesn't understand the cycles of attraction for men. So we'll talk about cycles of attraction. Then third stage is when you've sort of gone through that stage successfully. Then the third stage is commitment. All right. So now you feel like, all right, I've gone through my doubts. I'm going to make a commitment to this relationship. And if you skip the stage of uncertainty, then you're going to make a commitment. And now you're going to go back into the stage of uncertainty. And some people who didn't date long enough, they get married and then they kind of go, oh my God, did I marry the right person? Because they never went through the uncertainty stage properly and then move
Yes.
into the commitment stage. Now, ideally, you don't have sex until you're in the commitment stage. That's ideally. Now, I know it changes today, but I'm just going to talk about ideals. For example, if I was a woman, I wouldn't want to have sex with a guy if I thought he was off having sex with other people. I want to feel that, I'm special and I'm the one, and he's not going to fool around. And he's decided that I'm the one. He's going to see where this relationship could go. It has great potential. And he's not going to be wandering. It's okay for him to be wandering until he makes a commitment. And that's important for women to know, because you could be dating a guy and you see, oh, he's put his name out there on Facebook or some dating app. He's looking at people. Well, he hasn't made a commitment. It's not a bad thing. You have to realize he's still in the uncertainty stage. Just because somebody's uncertainty doesn't mean they're not prime candidate. Okay. You're going to go through these stages and don't rush it. Now you're in the commitment stage. Now the commitment stage is a lot of challenges there, because when a man makes a commitment, suddenly he doesn't have any energy to continue developing the relationship. It's kind of like, okay, I climbed the mountain. Now I'm going to take a nap.
And that's when women make a mistake
Yes.
by showing their anxiety, right?
Yeah. Well,
Being upset.
they make the mistake of, in the commitment stage, once you're in the commitment stage, the anxiety actually is, she went back to uncertainty. I don't know what women will tend to do when a man is committed to her. Now she's going to give more. And he's in a place where he gives less because he doesn't realize you have to continue doing the things you did in the dating scene before that.
He conquered her.
Yeah. In a
That's
sense,
it.
he conquered her. I achieved the goal. Now I can retire. There's this tendency in men, which is never do anything that you don't have to do. And so he did the things that, once he's having sex with you in the commitment stage, it feels like, okay, now I can just coast, nothing's going to change. And then there's a lot of resentment that develops at that time inside of women because they feel like they're putting more energy into it and he's putting less energy into it. So how to change that? We can talk about that. But the problem for the woman is giving more. It's always the problem for women in marriage whenever they're unhappy. They give more. They feel I give more than I'm getting. And they're comparing. And they'll compare, I got here, now you're not getting this. And compare what I'm doing myself for him. What's he doing for me? All this comparing stuff is nature. It's human nature. All these things are human nature. When you don't understand how to use the power of comparing to make your relationship better instead of making it worse. If you ask me about that, I'll go into that. So this is but ultimately the simple part is to know what to expect. When he's going to now do less, you have to know how to motivate a man to do more. That's a skill nobody teaches women. It used to be culture taught men how to do more for a lifetime, because culture said, if you want a woman to have sex with you, have babies with you, have a family with you, you have to do more. You have to go out into the world and work your ass off to make money so she doesn't have to do that. But today that the culture is no longer giving him that motivation.
So
See,
it
it's
does
like,
change over the centuries, because my understanding that we do have biological differences and we approach each other from our own points of view and biological points of view as well. So women will treat the men in a certain way, and men will also treat them in their own way from their own biological perspective as well. And you speak a lot about hormones, and that part has not changed. However, now I absolutely agree with you. There's no motivation. We don't teach our boys that will grow into men how to get the woman, meaning that, of course, a man is a hunter. He wants to get a woman, but at the same time, how to do that in the right way. So
you
that
know,
is a science that
I
has
was a
not
bit
been taught.
I was a bit of a Peter Pan. I'll say that. My life was, education, doing what I enjoy doing. For me, it was the spiritual education. I became a monk for 9 years. I became a man when I married my wife, and she said to me one day, she says, I depend on you. We had a baby, right? I depend on you. And I kind of went, oh, I'm responsible for somebody else. It's up to me. I have to do it. And that's what wakes up men's testosterone levels. They took a big leap at that time. And whenever I feel I have to do something, and this is whether it be a man or a woman, when you feel I have to do something, I gave my word, or someone's depending on me. If I don't show up, bad things will happen. Testosterone goes up. And for men, testosterone is the magic hormone that lowers his stress and makes him feel really good. It makes him feel selfless. It helps motivate him. He has energy, he has aliveness. And testosterone doesn't do that for women. Okay, it does a little of that, but actually can make her feel worse if she doesn't have plenty of estrogen. So women need estrogen in order to cope with stress. And estrogen is produced when you don't have to do everything, but you have help. Whenever you feel I have help, I can ask for help, I can get help. Help is available to me. I can have this, I can have this, I can have this. I don't have to do it all myself. I
And
don't
yeah,
have to do it all myself. That's
absolutely. I believe this is a huge problem right now in our society, because as women become more independent, and like you mentioned, that there is interdependence. We do depend on each other. And this word dependence, nobody wants to hear that.
no, they
And
don't.
nevertheless, this
Right.
is an essential part of the relationships.
Sometimes they can hear interdependence, but to have interdependence means I depend on you for certain things and you depend on me for certain things. And if I fulfill those certain things, what happens is, think of us having like a bank account of love. If I do certain things and you feel loved and supported, you're getting more money in the bank account. Okay, let's say you have $1 million in your bank account, and somehow you lose $1,000. It means nothing. Okay, but if you've got $10,000 in the bank and you lose 1,000, then you're going to go, oh, I have to be careful here. I can't trust this person. I got to do this. We want to fill each other's banks. And I'll say right up front, all of my message is teaching men what to do to fill a woman's love tank. Okay, to fill the bank. Okay, and then it's smooth sailing. And what's interesting for women that men don't know, it's a lot of little things that fills up the love bank, and not just one big thing. I can bring her 24 roses. There's going to be a surge of estrogen. I can bring her one rose. there's going to be almost the same surge of estrogen. Lots of little things: 6 hugs a day, 4 hugs a day, uh, don't interrupt her when she's talking, demonstrate interest when she's talking, ask more questions. All these things are little things that raise estrogen. Plan a date. Think of something that she would really like, and then say, we should go do that. And she go, oh, he wants to take care of me. That makes her feel special. And ironically, I've also, this is where in stage 3, where men get lazy, they need to understand you can still be somewhat lazy, but you have to do these little things and you'll get big rewards. And when you get big rewards, that motivates you to do more of those things. Literally, we are like a car and it runs out of gas, it just doesn't run. We need a woman's love, appreciation, depending on us for things that we can provide to give us the fuel to be in a relationship. So it's doing these things for a woman to help her. Anytime you help a woman, her estrogen goes up, and in helping her, your testosterone goes up as well. However, the big bank, just say the reality, is making love. If you're not making love, his bank is empty. He's a grumpy, irritable person. He's going to have resentments like a woman does. He's going to be way on his female side. And that's just so unattractive. So many women just can't be turned on to him. He complains, he gets upset, he's in a bad mood. Suck it up, men. Learn how to be a man. You don't have bad moods when you're a man. You have a period, you can have a bad mood. You can't have bad moods. And I know
nobody talks like that. Dr. Gray, no, nobody talks like that. Meaning that it is absolutely fantastic when you say suck it up. And I love it because in our culture of permissiveness, right? And not only that, and all allowance of everything and allowance for emotional distress and revelation in the public places as well. Many people say that, oh, it is okay, to reveal your emotions and you can cry. Men can cry too. And of course, I don't oppose that. There are reasons for that as well.
But let me even give you, there has to be the right reasons for men to cry. It has to be a big problem.
Yeah.
Your heart, there's a great phrase in China, which is a man should not cry unless his heart is broken. Okay. That's a big problem. And you can even look at a man's biology. When a problem is little, just the normal grind of life, putting things together, he has a decrease in blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. He is supposed to detach. I have to figure out what to do about this. I need to plan action. I need to do something and not complain and not talk about how I feel. We've ruined men. Many ways we've ruined men, and there's a way out. One thing we ruin men, and it's part of evolution, is that men don't have a job anymore. Okay. The men's job used to be you had to make money to provide for a woman. That gave you a mission. That gave you purpose. That gave value to your life. It gave you dignity. It allowed a woman in your family to look up to you and love you and appreciate you, that you will do things that they don't have to do for themselves. You provide a great support for them. That's part of what all masculinity is about. Then I hear these young people saying ridiculous things like, who fed us this nonsense that we're here to, get a job and then make money and make babies and have a relationship and grow old and love? Like, that's the whole evolution of humanity. This is like nonsense stuff. And I'm not saying every single person should do that, but the masses, that's what it's always been about. There can be, what there are is there's people who are born and they sort of have more connective tissue in the brain. They tend to be artists or geniuses, very creative people. They're very confused about their gender. They often live tormented lives only because in that genius state, they don't know how to separate from their male and female side. It's too easy to go one place. It's too easy for the man to go to his female side. And then he becomes an alcoholic, a drug addict. He's depending on something outside himself to make him happy. And all of your great writers, guess what? They're all alcoholics, drug addicts, almost all. Any TV show writers are all taking cocaine. See, what it is genius is having connection of masculine and feminine at the same time. Making love is genius. That's what the whole idea of men going inside of a woman, not a woman going inside of a man. And also it's called making love, which is what you have to practice once you start having sex. Actually having the sex part is really a part of the 4th stage, but we are going to go ahead against it, but it will move us into the 4th stage. I want to finish these stages. So you're working out in the stage 3, how to sustain the attraction once familiarity sets in. You see, couples stop having that attraction. They just want comfort zone and they don't have that passion. around stage 3. They'll have some, of course, because now there's more commitment. But men start doing less. Women give more. Women then resent. Men don't feel rewarded. Men have less to give. So that's one of the big obstacles of stage 3. Stage 4 is if you make it through in your committed relationship for a while, then you're getting what you need. And when you get what you need, what starts to come up inside are feelings from the past where you weren't getting what you needed. And it's like an opportunity for your body to let go of the past. I mean, logically speaking, you can look at it this way, which let's say every time in the past you opened your heart and somebody rejected you and hurt you, but you're building trust in stage 3, like this person really loves me. So I'm going to really open up. And of course, if you're going to open up after keeping your heart closed for so much of time, it's going to bring up fears. It's going to bring up insecurities. And it literally brings up suppressed feelings from the past. And so what we tend to do in stage 4 is overreact. Women or men can become needy, can become insecure, can have doubts. And so they argue and they fight and they sabotage at that time because the emotions, you're more vulnerable once you move into stage 4 because you
And
decide.
that is the most important stage in my mind because everybody wants to have intimacy. Everyone wants to find this long lasting relationship and not just find. In my understanding, it is very important to build it. And in order to build it, we must understand all the stages. And this stage is crucial because, like you said, many people make mistake there. So I just want to bring the attention of our viewers and listeners to the crucial stage of, in fact, uncertainty, and understand that this is a part of every relationship. Once I understood, I did not have problems because, like you said, yeah, there is that anxiety. Yes, we want to know what is our future potential desired partner wants to do, right? Because if I am a woman and I want to develop this relationship and I like this man, I want to know whether he likes me back. And the thing is, we make a lot of mistakes at this stage of uncertainty, and we might as well jeopardize the beautiful potential relationship just because we don't understand the stage of uncertainty.
Okay, so that's stage 2. Stage 3 is commitment. Now you're feeling safer in the relationship if you make it through. That's when intimacy starts coming up, where you really start to open up and reveal maybe the not such perfect part of you. It's easy to sort of put out your best foot all the time, but at a certain point, you start having overreactions. Overreactions will recur. And in intimacy, if it's rushed too quickly, then the overreactions start happening before you've built a relationship. For example, my wife was annoying me the other day. She was talking on the phone while I was driving, but she really had to talk, and it was annoying. And our deal is that whoever drives controls the music, and so but breaking the rules. And I wanted to do what I would do is I just would pull over the car and say, if you want to continue to call, you can continue to call, and I'm just going to go for a little walk because we weren't in a rush or hurry or anything, which is a nice way of dealing with it. I don't like to control people or criticize them. I like to go for a walk. So, all right. So I'm going to go for a walk, and then I'll come back in a little while when you're done with the call, or you can call me. And so I walking my dog and so forth. And I watched inside of me a tendency of, oh, she did that to me. Well, I'm going to withhold some love. I'm going to get even with her. I'm going to balance it out. She did that to me. I'm going to do something to her. Petty thoughts like that, which everybody has. So how am I going to, and I watched my mind start to balance. Oh, she did that. I'm going to do something to her. That's how the mind thinks. That's the primitive brain always wants to even the score. So women or men, we resent each other. We will give less. Well, you did that, so I'm going to give less. Because you gave me less, I'll give you less. And that's why women lose their attraction to their husbands. When they feel neglected, then they say, well, I'm not going to give you my love. This is unconscious process. If you're very conscious, you're aware of it, that I'm punishing my partner, I'm withholding my love because they did that thing. That's what all anger is. All sadness is quite often is just if to your partner, if I'm angry with you, you're going to suffer because you know that if you're angry with your partner, his only wish is to make you happy. So the way women can punish men is just not be happy. It's an amazing mechanism that goes on, whether they're aware of it or not. So much of women are getting even with men for neglecting them by just being unhappy. When that's a foolish thing to do. It makes you unhappy. You don't have to be unhappy to get what you want. Matter of fact, you can get what you want by being happier. But how do you change your own feelings? So anyway, long
And that
story
is the
short,
science. It is the science,
it's
Dr.
just
Greg.
it's understanding how what's going on inside of us, not letting it control us. So the idea there is you want to find balance. Okay, you did this to me, I want to do that to you. So immediately I went, well, this is stupid. Why do I want to create anything negative from this? And this is what I suggest for men very clearly with your mind. What I was able to do is, well, let me balance the annoyance that she created for me with how good I felt when I made love with her this morning. So then you balance that with, okay, here's a negative, but what's the positive? What's the payoff? Okay, nobody's perfect. So you have to be aware of the positive that goes on in your relationship. But when we're upset with our partners, we forget the positive. Now, this is biology again, because if you're upset, you're annoyed, irritated, resentful, frustrated. What happens? Those are adrenaline producing hormones get produced. Adrenaline's getting produced. Now, when adrenaline gets produced, blood flow, if you're human, goes primarily to your left prefrontal cortex to look at the problem, to dwell on the problem. And every woman knows this, how you'll ruminate on the problem, on the problem, on the problem. That's because you're making adrenaline or cortisol, the stress hormones. Blood flow goes to this part of the brain, the left prefrontal cortex, which is, let me make sure I'm getting them right. No, it's my right prefrontal cortex. I'm looking at the problem. My left is looking at optimism. That's the love. That's the positivity. So all you have to do is use your brain here, the way it's designed. Okay, look at the negative thing. She was annoying. She does that. Complain a little bit to yourself, and then go, now remember something really good recently that she did. And this is what I want to get at. What is a man's biggest stimulator of his love bank? Happy sex. I'm telling you, this is bottom line with men. A woman who enjoys sex gets 100 points every time. If she enjoys it, if she's doing it, maybe a point. But if you're enjoying it, see, women give you 1 or 2 points. That's it, again and again and again. Men will give you 100 points when you have sex and you enjoy it. And of course, I know women are going, oh, that means I have to have sex with them. No, you want to have sex with them. So you have to create a relationship where physical intimacy is one of the most enjoyable things that you can look forward to or remember. And that particularly for men. So all I had to do was say, okay, I'm looking at the negative. I looked at it. I looked at that tendency to want to get even. Why don't I even the score by looking at the negative and now looking at the positive? It's so powerful, but we need to anchor in our positive experiences. And the way you do that is you talk about them. You talk about them. So always, for example, when we make love, we do one of our processes, which is called the reassurance process. At a time where I'm feeling the most, see, the difference between men and women is, I can take my wife on a date and take her somewhere. Or I can make a meal for her. Or I can do something, give her a foot massage, and she'll feel so much love. She feels so taken care of. My husband cares about me. But for me, as a man, we're wired up to feel the most only when we're having sex. These women don't understand this. We don't have the estrogen levels that women can have by someone doing little things for you. Our estrogen levels go up when we have an erection, and it will only happen if our testosterone is high, and that's just feeling detached. But if my testosterone is high, as confident, and I'm feeling love towards my wife because she's feeling love towards me, I'm a mirror of that. Now my estrogen levels go up, and that's called an erection inside of a man. An orgasm inside of a man is his testosterone, estrogen going higher and higher and higher until it feels so good that the estrogen's higher than the testosterone. And so his testosterone shoots down. And then he has to recover for a while to build his testosterone up. Now,
And that's when men fall asleep.
That's when men fall asleep. They just sort of detach. They forget everything. But it's good for them to do that. And that's a stage of maturity for a man. But the next stage happens if he's mindful about this. And this is enlightenment. I teach enlightened sexuality. First, you get in a committed relationship, and that's you get to the stage of intimacy. Okay. And you basically only have sex with your partner, and you have commitment before that, and you have deeper love for them over time. All couples will tell you they have successful relationships. Almost all. I can't say everybody because I haven't met everybody, but they'll have these trials that they went through. You know, there were misunderstandings and they were able to resolve it. That's how you build intimacy. You trust. You have situations where he did the wrong thing, she did the wrong thing, but you resolved it, and now there's a step of progress. Now you build more trust, and you build more trust, and that's the intimacy stage. Is you deal with conflict in a positive way because you're having sex, and sex will bring up conflict. You see, you don't have conflict with people unless you're having sex with them, generally speaking. That's why couples have the biggest battles. That's why you work so hard to find somebody who loves you and you love them. And then you argue with them, you get mad at them, you withhold your sex from them, you lose interest in them, you all these things to the person you love the most. This is how insane it is. But that's because when you feel safe, you overreact to things because you're more connected to your childlike feelings while you're still an adult. I mean, think about what some people
So what do we do then in order not to overreact?
Well, let's get to that as one of our statements. Let me finish the 5
Okay.
stages. So once you've gotten through some battles, then proposal. So proposal is a tricky thing, particularly today, because men like status quo. Women want to always improve things. Men are like, hey, everything's fine here. Why do we have to take it to another level of responsibility? Which is getting married means that, you know, you announce to the world you love each other. So if you end, you're a big failure. And that's true. And what's wrong with you? What was wrong with your relationship? You have to go through all of that. And you share a house together or apartment together. You got finances together. Then you have a child together. You don't want to hurt your children. So you're going to stay together for that. You know, so engagement, people skip engagement. They're going to have a rockier marriage. It doesn't mean they can't survive if they get married. They'll just go back through these stages. We have help for them at every stage. But skipping the engagement, there's a point to why you spend a year, at least 6 months, could even be 2 years for younger people, is the engagement is where the problems you have are not the big problems. You're not selling furniture. You're not picking out what you're going to do in the will. You're not, dealing with the children's problems. It's like extended dating, but with the knowing that this is the person who wants to marry me. What that does for a woman gives her such a sense of safety inside. And what it does for a man is it's anytime you make commitment, your testosterone is high. So it's a period of time that's wonderful because problems will come up, but you don't have this thing looming over you that you can't escape. You can still escape if you're engaged, because once you're married, you made your commitment. You got a baby. You're going to take care of her. You got to do this. It's not so easy to disengage without feeling really awful, and you should, because you didn't keep your word. It's just natural. You hurt somebody. You build a life together, and then you end it. It's going to dramatically affect your children. Now I know everybody's getting divorced. I don't want to make you feel too guilty. But you just didn't know better. You didn't know how to have a relationship, or you didn't go through the first stage and you keep picking the wrong people. It's better to leave a dysfunctional relationship to stay in it. But even better is the motivation for your children to have parents who love each other, learn how to love, learn how to be a loving partner, learn your mistakes, learn what you didn't do. There's so many mistakes couples make. And I can say that from my experience, because wherever I've traveled in the world, which is always in the airport, somebody comes up to me and say, we got divorced and we were married again because we read your book.
That is fantastic.
We thought we were too different. We thought we were too different. Men think women are crazy. Women think men are narcissists. And it's not true. It's not true. So
Well, in order to get to that last stage that everybody wants from dating, I know that not that many people are actually making that by making mistake, perhaps to becoming intimate on the first or the second date. And I remember when you and I were driving, having that long drive to the airport, that was such a profound experience for me because I received the answer to my question that was bothering me for quite some time because I realized that later in life, somehow, by becoming intimate after 40, after 50, people can form lasting and loving relationship by becoming intimate on the second or third date, for example,
yes,
right?
if they're older, if they're more mature.
And then you said there is a maturity factor there. And it was like a bulb lighting up for me. Eureka, like Eureka.
Yeah.
So what you're saying that at the
I'll give you an
beginning.
example. An example for me is I'm married to my wife, Bonnie, 34 years. She passed on to cancer, and I was very sad, and I grieved for a couple of years. I needed to go through this healing process. But then I got married right away. Okay, it was so easy for me. I know just what I want. I knew what I want. I knew what I didn't want. I saw it. I had no doubts. I took it. It was so easy for me, and it's been so good. It's been so good because I'm more mature and I know what I want. As younger people, we don't know what we want, and we have to first learn how to bond mentally. For women, they have to bond mentally, then they have to bond emotionally, then bond physically. If you start with just bonding physically, what will happen is the man will bond and he goes to sleep. And that means he recoils, he backs up. And when he backs up, if he doesn't have a bond with you in his heart or with his mind, then he has no bond with you. Because after sex, the immature sex of the young man, which is most men today, when they ejaculate, their attraction for you will go down. Okay, when a man ejaculates, as I mentioned, it says he loved having sex with you so much. The estrogen went so high, his testosterone crashes. He needs to detach, to pull away before, I call it like a rubber band. He has to pull back, and then like a rubber band, then he will spring back, and his desire for you and his attraction will come back. Now, for almost 40 years with Bonnie, because we were dating before, I always had attraction to her, always had attraction to her. And a big part of that, which is my career, I mean, certainly teaching these ideas kept me on the right line, but it was that I would take distance from her every week, 2 days a week. I would not see her, and sometimes 3 or 4, and then I would see her for 10, so it was a maximum, and not every month I was away, but a maximum of 10 days away. If I was gone longer than that every month, she would start feeling neglected. So we had to find the right thing where it was the amount of distance for me, because when I am working, I'm out traveling, I don't miss anything. I'm 100% present. I'm solving problems. I feel great. I work, I go to sleep, I get up, and also have the benefit of not being addicted to sex. So I don't miss sex when I'm away. Although now I have sex almost every day, but occasionally my wife goes out of town and I don't miss it because I'm not addicted to it. But I do know it's very important because it fills my bank account so much. Because what is sex? But for us, it's making love. You're actually making the love. You're generating, you're filling up with more and more if you know how to do it. Part of the dance of making love is for men to know the purpose of sex, as all books, how you increase your pleasure, intensify your pleasure, increase your orgasm, all that. Okay, that is not the purpose of sex for advanced people. The purpose of sex is to feel more love. It's making love. And a man has to be pointed out to him that if you want to last longer in sex, more than 2 to 3 minutes of intercourse, I can do for hours and hours if we have the time, and if her sexual potency is high, and if her bank is high, I can do for many, many hours. And not that we're goal oriented, but we have time to do it. We were just on a little mini vacation to some friends, and we stayed at their house, and it was a beautiful, beautiful location. And we had a lunch break, and we made love for 2.5 hours. This is like so easy to do because I'm not addicted to sex. Generally, most women are not, but some are. And there's reasons why they get addicted to sex, and then they pick the wrong partners. If you're turned on to a man, I'm going to go back to stage 1 attraction. If you're turned on, if your attraction is mental, that's a healthy sign. If your attraction is emotional, that's somewhat of a healthy sign. If your attraction is physical, run the other direction. If you're turned on to a fantasy, you're not aligned with your spirit. You're not going to find your soulmate to share your life with. Your soulmate to share your life with typically is going to be, you admire their thinking, they're brilliant, or you like something about their character. It's more mental. Then you go on dates, but nothing happening down south. Again, unless you're more mature and you've got all those levels integrated. But then you do the dating thing, and the dating thing is him doing things for you, him paying for the bill, for example, and you appreciating it. So the deal is done. Often women want to treat because they don't want to feel obligated to have sex with them or something. You don't have to be obligated. Don't have sex with them. Just say, I enjoyed the meal. That's a gift to a man. How do you give to a man? You give a man the opportunity to give to you. The women could just get this in their mind. If you think you're loving because you give to a man, you're not. the most loving thing you can do for a man is continue giving him the opportunity to do things for you, giving him the opportunity to be the good guy, which means there's not much to complain about.
And this is one of the most important things that women do not understand in my practice, that I've seen that women do not understand this particular thing, and they overdo and they do too much. And as soon as they see that the man is a little bit disinterested, which in turn is not true, he just pulls away in order to come back, like you said, the rubber band. And women do too much. In fact,
But hold on 1 second. When he pulls away, it's natural. He comes close, pulls away. So now he's pulling away. What women do is they go, oh, I should do something to get him back. I should win his favor. I should be so nice. I should cook him a special meal. I can do this for him. I can praise him for this. She's going after him when he needs to pull away. So she's over giving. And the more she gives, the closer he is to her, he has to pull away. So some couples, the wife, once he pulled away once, she's running after him all the time, trying to get him back, rather than going, oh, he needs his cave time. I'm going to go do something that makes me happy. I'm not dependent on him to make me happy. I look to him to make me happier. I'm responsible for my happiness. Yes. And as soon as you make a man responsible for your happiness, nobody can make you happy but you. I can make you happier, but I can't make you happy. But what I can learn, that men also can learn, is how to not engage in making you more unhappy.
And there's a sense of insecurity that the women start getting as soon as a man starts pulling away. And it is crucial to understand that he will come back. You just have to find, like you say, find your own hobbies, do something with yourself, live your happy life yourself. You don't have to be dependent on happiness on the guy.
But having many, many things that you depend on for your estrogen levels to go up. See, never depend on, it's like depending on one investment generally isn't a good idea, unless that's you. That's my thing, is I just keep investing in me. But again, that's a male thing. I have to feel that my happiness comes from what I can do for others. Then my happiness comes from that. Then I'm happier by what I can do for my children and my wife. That's what makes a life fulfilled. It's beyond me. But even to get to me, what am I here to do but to be of service, to solve problems, to fix things, to accomplish things, to set goals that are meaningful to this world. So I work to make a difference. I get paid for that. Why payment is so important is it tells me, it's a physical reality, that I am valid, I am appreciated, and I am needed. If I'm not paid for something, then I wasn't that needed. And there has to be this exchange of energy. But I want to share something very interesting, Yana, that when a man has sex with his wife, he loves her and she loves him, his body will make a hormone called prolactin. Prolactin in a woman's body is what allows the baby to get the milk from the breasts. What it does for a man allows him to feel more love, but also limits his sexual desire. This is why loving couples often stop having sex. Not because they had problems. It's that he has prolactin. He's no longer that interested in sex. Now, if you have sex with yourself and you're a man, or you have sex with a one-night stand, or you have a sex with pornography, what happens is you don't make prolactin. So afterwards, your body says, I need to have more sex. And so you're addicted to sex. And the reason the body is, nature created this so that if you're with a woman and you don't love her, then you need to go find another woman that you love. You shouldn't be making babies with her. Or if you're with a woman who doesn't love you, you don't make prolactin, then naturally you should go find a woman who loves you. So this is this lust that men have for sex until they mature into a loving relationship. But the problem with that is that prolactin inhibits that dopamine excitement with your partner, establishes safety and familiarity, and you can't get a big surge of passion. So couples lose their passion. But I have figured out how to get the passion back. And you get the passion back through something called polarity. Polarity means I am more masculine. My male hormones are much higher than hers, and her female hormones are much higher than mine. And so when you have that polarity, you don't have to have the high dopamine. What you have is polarity, which is, by the way, difference, but it's the polarity is like magnets. And you have two magnets, a positive pole and a negative pole. You don't notice much when they're far away, but when you get into bed, it just turns on. So I don't walk around horny. Well, I get so much sex. Why would I? But it's when my wife says, let's just cuddle. As soon as we're cuddling, I'm there. See, it just wakes up. It clicks, and the passion is way more than I've ever felt in my life. But I'm not walking around feeling horny. Never am. So the sex addiction, that all men have the sex addiction because we are taught by eighth graders that seventh graders learn how to masturbate, and which is a terrible, terrible thing. It neutralizes any polarity that you have. You can't feel polarity if you're masturbating. But what that does for a male is it raises his estrogen and lowers his testosterone. And that's what we have today is all these males just in 20 years of pornography online. They all do it. You have no imagination how many times boys are doing this, 3 times a day, 2 times a day. It's insane. Now the United Nations has got their new sex education, and that you begin teaching boys to masturbate and girls to masturbate in third grade. And that's
No, wait.
yes, yes, that's
Hold
the new
on.
sex education. The United Nations should be canceled. This is a dark force as far as I'm concerned. I want people to know. Just go look on the United Nations sex education. It's hidden in there. They say all these flowery things, but the bottom line is some stranger is going to teach your child how to have masturbate at school. Talk
Yes,
about
well,
it.
United Nations is the old story, and many people know about it. And I did not know about this part of United Nations program,
Oh, they do
which
good
is
things without a doubt.
horrible.
But the this is the whole education system has been hijacked as well by people who believe that men and women should be the same, and that there's no difference between male female. This is a whole thing. It's been growing. I've been fighting this battle for 40 years, and it's so insane now. It's like you can pick your gender. No, you have a gender. Your biology is it. But they're brainwashed. Okay, and this was a if you look at the revolution in China, they took away all differences between men and women. They're all comrades. They would dress the same. Women would shave their heads. All the intellectuals, any smart person were killed. Same thing in Russia. We're comrades. There's no sexuality between men and women. You neutralize that. What you have is when men and women are not dependent on each other, people are now dependent on the government. And then you start giving people money for free. That weakens masculinity dramatically. And that's what happened during the pandemic when everybody was stuck at their home. Men weren't earning money, which is what makes testosterone. If somebody gives you money, it makes estrogen. And so now we have all these addictions that occurred during that time. We have people that don't want to work anymore. They want to stay home all the time. People aren't going out. It was a huge, huge planned way of weakening society so that we're not interdependent on each other. We're dependent on the government. That only creates weakness, is to be dependent on the government. Then the government becomes the person we're in love with, we're dependent on, and not each other. So what we have is a reaction to that, which is patriots now who are just saying we need our autonomy, we want our families, we want to have our lives, we don't want the government overreach, controlling everything in our lives. But there's this whole word now, which is, oh, but isn't it safe? That wouldn't you give up your freedoms for safety? No. But see, the female side of us will give up everything for safety. That's the female side of us. That's our biggest priority on the female side. And women are females, so they're more compliant. They're more willing to go along with it. They're more willing to join as a whole. The men are the ones who are out there, fighting the battles. And now another thing they want to do for men is they want to get rid of all meat, because meat makes men have high testosterone. The number one thing, I just gave a whole talk for another person today on how you have longevity. If you're a man, it's healthy testosterone. As soon as your testosterone goes down, you have a heart attack. It's 3 years after you quit your job, you're dead, according to the insurance companies. This is your happily married couples. If you're married couples, live the longest. Married couples are the healthiest. This is a fact because they have love in their life. They're filling their love tanks, even if it could be so much better. I have friends who have loving relationships with their partners, but they don't get erections anymore. I'm in my 70s. Get one every day, but part of it is having enough of that prolactin to where you're not addicted to the ejaculation. It takes many months of training where you don't indulge yourself, and it's a different way of making love without the goal. And women learn who have only been able to have climaxes. Again, you want to be healthy and happy, and you want to have a man know that he makes a difference. is you have an orgasm. That's why men are always saying, did you have an orgasm? And women are famous for faking orgasms, because if you say, no, I didn't have an orgasm, men are like, well, then it didn't work. What's wrong here? It's so easy for men to have a climax. So now women have their vibrators, and that's the big, this has been integrated more, so every woman's doing their vibrator. If you do your vibrator, your ability to have an orgasm in the vagina diminishes. This is the, I've got clients, women who do vibrator all the time. It also puts a lot of weight on your body. What women don't know that. They just go, why is my body producing so much weight? Because weight produces estrogen. The vibrator produces testosterone. So it's not a good thing to be masturbating. You just,
Uh-huh. This is a huge important message for all women, and to
all
all
women.
of my friends who ever suggested at any point of time in my life that you have to get the vibrator to substitute for a man. And
It's like
my
you're having a
response
robot.
was always, that is a man's job. This is not my job.
That's right. And it's a whole different, it feels totally different. But what a climax is just you're creating a spasm, which women think is an orgasm. And the more spasms you have, the less your vagina is able to receive the energy. Some women feel nothing with intercourse, okay, literally, because they've been wasting their energy. It just releases through the desire. The clitoris is there. The mouth, the kissing is very important. It's the gate, opens the gate. Then the breasts start producing lots of oxytocin as he's stimulating breasts and so forth, and his reaction there, and she's enjoying that. Certainly the whole body contact and moving around and all that is all changing the hormones. Then at a certain point, lots of oxytocin, that means safety. So then when she feels safe, only then stimulating the clitoris increases desire inside of her, the desire to be penetrated. As soon as you're feeling the desire to be penetrated, stop stimulating the clitoris, because this clitoris is just seeking pleasure. It's a pleasure machine. Okay. It's easy. Feeling pleasure is not the point of having enlightened sex. Is you feel pleasure just to be able to relax, to feel more. And then you get to feel your feminine energy. And that's where I teach to do the technique, which is for women to feel that their need for reassurance to be fulfilled through the man. And that is messages of love. But she has to be vulnerable to receive them, where she says, do you love me? He says, yes. And she says, how much do you love me? With all my heart. And do you think I'm beautiful? Yes, I think you're so beautiful. I love you so much. Will you always love me? I'll always love you. Are you happy to be with me? Am I the best? Yes, you're the best. I love you. See, you say these words when people are naked and their hearts are open, and this is anchors into the man's brain, so that, when I was annoyed and irritated with my wife, I went for my little walk. I could have been cold and distant. I could have held against her, because we have the rule. The rule is whoever drives the car, they play the music. Nobody does the phone, but she was breaking the rule. So what? Life is never perfect, but I was carrying something inside of me, so I can think, how can I get even with her? How I'm going to be with her? Or why don't I just compare that? Well, that was a bummer, but this morning was great sex. Okay, that's and great sex. What happens in sex for me, which I recommend, is talking and sex. Talking brings the energy to the heart, brings it to the mouth, brings it to the expression. You want to start down there and bring it back up. But if we come back to the 5 stages of dating, the attraction stage, women, if you're turned on to a guy right away, you're not in the mind, you're not in the heart, you don't even know the guy, and he hasn't done anything for you, there's no bonding for you or for him, because men start the opposite way. When I'm picking out the person for me, I can look in a room, 30 women. I can look around and only one woman or 3 women. I feel like I could have sex with that one. I could have sex with that one. And I could have sex with that one. We know right away who we could have sex with. Now, that is the first requirement. If you're a guy and you're dating some woman that you couldn't have sex with, it's a wrong woman. But for a woman, the guy that you want to have sex with, you could have sex with him right away, usually is the wrong guy. Because it's a fantasy. You don't even know who the guy is. You want him to earn the way. So it's a real relationship. And then, you can get lucky for sure, and be somebody for me, I saw my wife the first time. I wanted to have sex with her. No question. She's in the category. With Bonnie, when she was dying and the kids were asking about our marriage, it was very sweet. And she says, well, Mom, how did you meet Dad? And she said, I was swimming in Lake Tahoe and I came out of the lake And they said, well, how did you feel? She said, I feel like he's the one. I feel like he's my soulmate. And they said to me, what did you feel? I want to have sex with her. That was all I felt. And she's potential. She's potential. Now, we didn't get together. We ended up pulling apart because we had sex too soon. And
Oh,
I wasn't yet mature enough. I'd been a monk for 9 years and I was having sex with lots of women. And so we got together for a while, but she felt we really wasn't ready. And I wasn't fully committed to her either, although I wanted to marry her. But it was back in this 80s, open relationships. I wanted to have an open relationship. I was trying everything, I've been a monk. So she said, I'm not really wanting to be with somebody who wants to be in an open relationship. I said, okay, I love you, but we're not going to get married. So that was okay. And then some other woman said she was fine with an open relationship. So I married her and that didn't go anywhere based on, you start out wanting to have sex with other people. This is nonsense. You want to bond. What a woman needs and what a man needs is to feel, I'm totally devoted to you. And a woman needs to hold out until he's totally devoted to him. And he will, if he's the right guy. And here's an important thing, how to say no to sex right away. Because women used to be able to say, well, we're not married. That was enough because that was a culture that said you don't have sex till you're married, which was logical because she could get pregnant and be alone, which is a disaster for women. So that was culture protecting. But then suddenly birth control comes along and now there's no consequences. So women can't say, well, I need to make sure you're there for me. And women, feminists are all saying, yes, we could have sex like men. We can be like that. Okay, we're going to go do that.
yes.
Then they end up alone. What happened? It's fun in the beginning to go to your male side, but you want to be able to come back to your female side, which is to feel safe and secure that the man compares you to other people and wants to be with you. See, that's the dynamic, is you're the one. And it's a big fear for women as well, because a big thing that men are attracted to in women is their beauty. Women are the embodiments of beauty. And according to society's standards, you lose some of that beauty as you get older for many women. So that's another source of insecurity. But for me, married 40 years, 34 years, but together with my wife around 40 years, it didn't matter to me that she was a little overweight and she wasn't like this dazzling as she was when I first saw her, whatever. I'm not either. It doesn't matter. What you need to keep the passion is to bring out the part of it can feel beautiful. It's through my eyes, she's the most beautiful woman. Why is that? Because through my eyes, because we have a good sex life, I feel so much love. When you feel love, everything's beautiful. If you don't feel love, things aren't beautiful. So
That is
it's
the
our
truth.
job as men to provide that safety and security for her to feel beautiful every day of her life. And part of that is for her to say, do you still think I'm beautiful? And then it comes out of him. And what's interesting for men is unless there's a fire to put out, we have no motivation. So if she's feeling the need for reassurance, we say the right words and the feelings follow. See,
Now, do we
women,
need to create those fires, Dr. Gray?
well, when a woman, just as simple, this is a hack. When a woman, this is not to be done in stage 2, because in stage 2, you don't want to seek reassurance from him. You want to not be so dependent on reassurance at that time because you're uncertain. But once you're in the stage 3, this is a very important hack that you do for the rest of your life. A hack, we know you hack a computer. This is how you hack her hormones and how she can allow him to hack her hormones, which is to allow him to change her hormones. And you do that by becoming vulnerable. Think about what turns men on quite often on a superficial level, but it's reality. A naked woman. You take off your clothes for me and nobody else. What are you being? You're being vulnerable. So he gets turned on. See, it's like she feels I'm so special that she'll feel safe with me. She trusts me. She appreciates me. She accepts me. These are all the magic phrases that are forms of love that raise testosterone. When
What
I
if
come
it is too soon? What if it is too soon? And you said that there is a secret that you can teach young
to
girls.
say to a man, okay, thank you for bringing me back to that. You kiss. Okay, a kiss is, if you feel there's something there, a kiss. All right, a little kiss, that's all. And it's very important to let it be little so that something happens over the next few days. Okay, it will linger and something will start. Your body knows, oh, well, there's actually your body is saying this, his genes work with my genes. Is there potential here? And I've kissed a lot of women and it didn't have the same reaction as like when I have with my wife. When I kiss her the first time, it was like magic. It's that way when I'm away for a week. Occasionally I'm away for a week and I come back and there's no attraction. I mean, there's not any of that magic passion. One kiss, it all flames on. It's just there's biology here. The kiss is very important. Give it time to see if you like the guy more and think a little bit more about it after the kiss. But then what men do once there's the kiss, we're ready to have sex. Okay. He's unless he's been shamed for wanting to have sex, and a lot of men are, but wanting to have sex is very different from pushing yourself into that situation. But many men will negotiate. Once you're kissing, you're making out, you're touching, it's up to her to say, hold on here. And then so he says, and the way you do it is you say, I need to go slow. That's the first thing. I need to go slow. Now, what he'll do quite often is negotiate. Okay. He can do it in a nice way, awful way, whatever. He just doesn't have good skills. So don't judge him for that. Men say stupid things like, well, don't you respect me?
Oh, yes.
Well, don't you respect me? I like you so much, but you're not respecting me. This is my body. I want to do what I want. So you don't want to have sex with me? Then, or whatever it is, that's kind of an awful thing men do. But just, oh, well, don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? Don't you want to do more? And you say, yes, I feel it. A part of me so much wants more. And I'm so looking forward to more. I can't wait. I just have to go slow. Why go slow? Let's live in the moment. We can learn all our trick phrases. Don't you want to be in the moment? Don't you feel good? Feels so good. And I know it's going to feel even better if we just go slow. We have a relationship and I get to know you and you get to know me and we still have these feelings. It will be so much more. Now, women have that wisdom. Women know that sex would be greater if the man knows her and has done things for her. Men don't know that. They just think sex is going to be great because it will be pleasurable and he'll love how he feels, but he won't love you. The only way he can love you is he's already done things for you and you had conversations and you interacted and you asked him to do things and he does those things. You ask him to do this and he did that for you. He helped you in some meaningful way. That's
This
how
is
he
the greatest
bonds.
advice, the greatest advice of all ages, Dr. Gray.
Yeah. It's the male-female energy. We've lost this and we didn't consciously know it, although there was something called female wiles. I think it's the feminine wiles where she can get a man to do anything. And my wife she can get me to do anything,
Ooh.
it's butter me
We
up.
need to have her teach.
Butter me up. Well, the message comes through me. I seem to be the one who can analyze it and put it all together, but I've learned everything by my relationship with my previous wife and by my new wife now. And I watched this interesting thing I noticed. If you actually read Men Are From Mars, for most people, there's a slant of what men can do for women and less of a pressure on women, what they can do for men. Because my wife came from a very dysfunctional home, a lot of troubles in her relationships, divorced before, and wasn't always able to freely love me in the way I needed to be loved. But because I've been a monk, part of being a monk is you learn how to be self-reliant. Okay, I don't eat. I don't have to eat for long periods of time. I don't have to talk for long periods of time. I would do meditation, which is a discipline for 15 hours sometimes. That's my testosterone side. It's very strong, which is interesting because as a little boy, I was the fifth boy. And ironically, if you look at gay literature, it's generally the fifth boy that will become gay. I don't know about that. I just heard it on a TED talk, but they were kind of rationalizing being gay is that you don't need a relationship. You can help the other four members. But for me, I know personally for me, the fifth boy was my mother really wanted a girl. So I said, okay, I'll be very sensitive and very vulnerable. And I'm very loving, never get mad at anybody. I'm always generous, gave the best presents, that my female side was very well developed. I bonded with my mother so much that when my brothers, we got older and I was so much more successful, they said, well, that's because mom loved you more. And I thought that was silly. And so we asked my mom and she said, oh, I 7 children. I've done everything I can to love you all equally because I love you so much. It's just Johnny makes you love him more. so that was because she could connect with me more. And so a softer part of me, my brothers are very boyish and I became more soft. And also I talked spiritual things, and I meditated, all these things. She was a very spiritual woman, but that's my female side, but it wasn't yet disciplined. So to the teenage years, I was very much into sex, and getting high and the whole hippie thing. And because when a man's into sex, what's he into? He's into his female side. See, this is do what you like was the 60s, and it's still there. Do what you like, be what you like, choose whatever you want. That's all weakness. Okay. There's no discipline in that. There's no, I have to be a certain way. It was men waking up their female side where I don't have to get married. I can have free sex. And women are like, I don't have to wait to get married. I can be like a man and indulge myself in pleasure and pleasure myself. And I'm enlightened. And then they end up being depressed and anxious and alone and all these problems that people have because they don't anchor themselves in what we're here to be. Is first, if I'm a boy, a man, I need to be anchored in my masculinity, then go to my female side. So by God's grace, I was drawn to a mentor who was a monk, which is the most powerful thing to build testosterone is not to masturbate. Okay. Just no, hands off. And if there's any mothers out there and you've got a 7th grader, you have to understand as soon as he goes into middle school, the 8th graders are going to teach him about sex. And they're going to teach a little boy how to masturbate. And now we've got the United Nations teaching 3rd graders how to masturbate.
That's incredible.
And it's a sign of loving yourself. And all I can do is say, okay, forget about all the thousands of years where it was known that it weakens masculinity to masturbate. Okay. Let's just look at the biology. If you masturbate, it produces different hormones. It makes you addicted to sex. If you don't masturbate, but you wait to have sex with someone you love, it's an interaction. It's a person, not a machine. It's not your meta. It's not your porn. That's just going to weaken men even more. The more pleasurable it is, the more they love the pleasure, but they're not loving the person. It just makes you narcissistic. And this is what's going on in our society today, this addiction. If you make love to someone who loves you and you know them and you've gotten to stage 3 and 4, what happens? Your body starts making prolactin and you're a man and you lose your addiction to sex. You don't have that addiction. Now, does that mean you stop having sex? No, because if you're more masculine than her, you will always feel that desire to have sex with her. And if she feels more feminine, she will have the desire to have sex with you.
So if men don't masturbate, they are essentially building testosterone.
Absolutely.
By not wasting that energy.
Yeah,
because a lot of the narrative is nowadays is that it is so unhealthy to go long periods of time without sex, without the release, that this is what men do.
Well, it is unhealthy to go without sex. Sex with somebody you love is the pill for longevity, health, happiness, and fulfillment. Okay, that is the ideal. Second to that, which I did, is not masturbate, but take that energy and use it through spiritual practice. You've got to use that energy in service through love. You have to do something spiritual. You have to be selfless and use that energy. So then there's another thing you can do, which is to want to have sex, to get excited and not have an ejaculation is hard on your body and can create prostate problems. So that's why monks, some monks have prostate problems because they eventually would masturbate and they had a lot of sex thoughts. Okay. So they're turning themselves on and not ejaculating. That's hard to do. So what
and
you
among
do,
the nuns as well.
Say that again.
And among the nuns as well.
I couldn't understand it.
Among the nuns.
Among the nuns too. They're all having sex with Jesus, and at least they're feeling love. I have to say it. They're going to be a little bit better unless they're using a machine. But the best thing is you have a partner. Now, but everybody's, there are distinctions of people. There are people, monks and nuns often are people who are asexual. Okay, they come in with a balance of masculine and feminine. They come in with more connective tissue, which in the brain, which makes them more spiritual and also makes them geniuses. Genius can be either high spirituality or it can be high creativity. All of your famous writers, they all were drug addicts. Okay, they had tormented lives. All your famous writers, all your musicians, everybody had these tormented lives because they have access so easy if you're a man to go to your female side. So easy for a woman to get lost on your male side. This just creates torment. You're out of balance. But they'd be your channel when you're doing your music. That you're equally on your male-female side. So you have ecstasy, and then you don't have a lifestyle relationship that can support that. It has to be spiritual. If you look at a character, Michael Jackson, genius, to affect the whole world like that, that's pure genius.
Yes.
Okay. And creativity. He was never happy in his life. The only time he was happy was when he was singing on stage, because the energy was flowing and was coming back
Mm-hmm.
to him. It was flowing and coming back to him. Then everybody's listening to his music, energy's going at him, but he's not flowing the energy out. So he goes out, the energy is blocked inside. So you see
Mm-hmm.
this with a lot of famous people. They have all kinds of turmoil and divorce and unhappy things. I've had huge success. 50 million people read my books, probably 100 million. And I've been able to balance it because I have my discipline of my masculine and feminine. I don't just do what I like. If I go to a hotel, I carry the bags. I don't let the guy carry the bag. Oh, I'm so rich and famous, I'll let somebody else take care of me. No, I do it myself. And I don't have a chauffeur. I drive my wife, and I don't tell her to take the steering wheel. No, I'm going to do the things, and I'm going to drive in a way that makes you feel safe. I'm not just going to ignore what your needs are. If you're in the car, I'm going to prioritize how you feel when I'm driving. Men don't realize that's the best foreplay you can have. You can look and see who's having sex and who's not by seeing when a woman is driving a man around. Okay. Why is she driving him around? Because he said, look, if you want to keep telling me how to drive, you can drive. And now she's dealing with danger, and he's just sitting comfortably in the car. Actually, not that comfortable for most women drivers. He won't be that comfortable, or maybe he just zones out, but he's on his female side. He's not having to stay alert, provide, and do it in a caring way. That's another hack, driving your wife in a way that makes her feel safe and comfortable, and her letting you know, I appreciate your driving. So if I'm going too fast, because my wife likes me to drive fast if she's in a hurry. She's really proud of me. But if most driving, she doesn't want me to go so fast. Now, I know some women like to drive fast too. That's fine. You're on your male side. You probably need to work more on your female side. You can keep driving fast, but if there's other places, if you're not happy and fulfilled in a relationship and feeling attraction, you need to work on your female side. So what we worked out is, rather than her telling me to slow down, she grabs the handle. That's it. And I immediately go, oh, I'm slow down right away. I put my hand on her thigh and I say, I did that for you. And she said, I know, and I appreciate that. And she did that for 30 years. Okay. We have another ritual. See, these are biohacks, which is, a yellow light. I stop at yellow lights. I never stop at yellow lights when I'm driving by myself. As a funny aside, we're going way over time here, but I have another joke.
Yes.
One time I was driving late at night, and I saw a yellow light, and I have a fast car, and I sped up to go through it, and a cop pulls me over, and I said to him, I got through that light when it was yellow. He said, you sure did, at 90 miles an hour.
He got you. He got you.
He only did 10 over, but it was good. But when I drive with my wife, always if it's yellow light, I stop right away on the yellow light because she likes that. I put my hand on her thigh and I said, I did that for you. She says, I know, and I appreciate it. See, part of the language of love, it's so different what a man needs to hear, what a woman needs to hear. What a woman needs to hear is he's not judging how she feels. He responds to what she's feeling. He asks questions to what she's feeling. For the men listening, it's just to know, stop interrupting, stop talking, ask questions, and you'll stay involved. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? Oh, that's awful. Or, oh, I'm so happy for you. Have some little responses. Very, very important. You don't have to say much. Don't say much. If a woman wants you to talk more, it's because she really needs to talk more.
That's interesting.
Women only want to hear what's inside of a man to get reassurance that he's not mad at her. That's one. And two, they feel guilty talking so much. So they want to be equal, because if it's two women talking and one dominates the conversation, the other one feels like, you don't even care about how I feel. Men don't care about talking about their feelings, except for the men who've been trained that you're supposed to talk about how you feel. And I'm all for talking about my feelings when they're positive. I'm so happy. I'm so glad. I love you so much. We had so much fun. I really liked it when you said this. This was so interesting for me. I can't wait to do this. This is all talking about feelings. But if you're angry, keep it to yourself and go do something to make you feel good. And then you won't be angry anymore. Or remember that one process is analyze whenever you're upset, I'm overreacting. And now my wife's overreacting too, but I don't tell her she's overreacting, because then She feels judged. So men shouldn't say to a woman she's overreacting. We should know. If you treat her right, she'll come right back to loving and she'll let it go. She doesn't let it go because she can't talk about it. That's how women can raise their estrogen levels, is talking about what's inside. Not talking about what's inside and analyzing it was Freud. Most of his clients were men, and they would sit on a couch in a dark room with no eye contact. He would be lying on he's in a cave. He's lying on his back, talking, not looking at Freud. And he's taking notes. So it's so funny. Therapy today is eye contact, hearing, feeling, so forth. What else you feel? Freud is like, what do you think about that? And you say, well, what do you think about that? And he says, what do you think I think about that? It's all about thinking. It's analysis. And the analysis is realizing that most everything you're upset about is irrational. And so where did it come from? It come from your past. So how does this relate to your past? And analyzing that. We've got too much about this feeling stuff. So much that if somebody feels something, it's automatically true. No, it's just true. That's what you feel. But what you feel would be a thought or a belief that's completely wrong.
Absolutely.
Like women will say, I feel like you don't love me. I said, okay, well, tell me more. But I'm not going to think that's what she believes. That's just what she's feeling in the moment. But she thinks that if she feels you don't love me, then you don't love me. That's nonsense. Anytime you feel anything that makes you unhappy, you're believing the wrong thing, period.
And we're mistaking feelings for reality.
Yes. Reality, when your biggest fear if it actually happens, suddenly you relax. Okay. Because it's trying to resist what is that causes all your angst inside. But when it actually happens, like, okay, now what do I got to do? And then you have the energy to do it. It's our fantasies are making things worse than they are, which I don't judge people for that. That's what we do. And particularly it produces estrogen in women. So what women have to realize is they can easily get addicted to doomsday thinking and complaining and absolute thinking, always, never, nobody, whatever. And
we're famous for that.
Say that again.
We are famous for that.
Yes, you're famous for that. And see, I don't judge that in any way, but her job is to be honest about what's inside, but then shift to the other side of it. Okay. That's one, I'm feeling that, and come back to your positive feelings. You have to self-correct. And often the transition is, okay, so like I'm counseling one woman, and she's like, I just think there's no hope and it's just hopeless. And you really think something's going to happen. I'm not going to tell her something's going to happen. I'm just going to listen to her a little bit. And then I'm going to say, well, what do you wish? So I don't know. Well, do you wish that things did get better? Well, yeah, I would like that. Well, what would that look like? And let's talk a little bit about that. And then we'll see how we can get there. It's just, but often before I will even process what she wishes, and to a great extent, I'm going to first, when she says, he doesn't do this, I'm going to say, and how does that make you feel? Then she will go into feeling a negative belief, like, well, I feel like I'm all by myself, or I have to do everything myself, or I'm not feeling loved. I say, okay, I get that that's your belief. Now, how does that belief make you feel emotionally? Because it's your belief that's making you feel sad or hurt. It's just your belief. And your belief is making you feel afraid. So if you can bring a woman back, and as a man, you can learn to do this. You just listen to her a little bit, and you can say things like, well, that must be so frustrating. Oh, I'd be angry. Are you angry? Or, oh, tell me your concerns. What are you afraid of? Well, I'd be afraid. See, bring her back to emotions, because whenever a woman or a man identifies an emotion, but particularly for women, because it makes estrogen, when you identify emotion from this part of the brain to the middle part of your brain, this part of the brain, which is logic and reason and everything's okay, and I can solve this problem, all that stuff, the executive center, when it is being activated to give a word, a name to the emotion, already this guy's in charge. And so I can ask women what they feel. Rarely do they actually identify an emotion unless I ask them, well, what are you sad about? And what are you afraid of? It's only by identifying the emotions that a person can let them go. An emotion is a constriction. And that constriction, you can't let it go until you identify it. Then the prefrontal cortex identifies it with a word, and now you can let it go. And if it doesn't go, it's because you have something else. Anytime you're angry, you're also afraid. If you just stay angry, you can't ever let it go, because there's a precondition to feeling angry, is that you're feeling threatened, and that's your defense reaction. Or if you're feeling afraid, there's usually your fear is covering up your power, which would come from your anger. So when you push down anger, which so many women do, until they find a lot of reasons to be angry, then they feel justified in their anger. Oh my God, that's the worst. Then you can't even let it go. There's no ultimate justification for any negativity other than I'm out of balance and I want to come back into balance by looking at the situation differently. You know, well, like somebody's mistreating you. Okay, tell them to stop. Don't mistreat me. You don't have to have anger, but as we go through this transition of empowering ourselves, we have to listen to our primitive brain because that's where the power is. That's where the juice is. You know, if you disconnect from all your emotions, then you have no sex drive. Then you have no healing power. All repressed emotions causes sickness and disease.
So we must talk about it. Well, Dr. Gray, your books need to be taught instead of the United Nations curriculum, need to be taught at schools, in high schools, because the children will be ready to go into their adulthood soon after that, and they need to know how to communicate with each other, and at the universities. So that approach needs to be taught.
And it's unrealistic. First of all, the most important thing is parents need to learn this stuff. Children learn by watching their parents. That's the first thing. It does need to be taught, but it's not going to be taught. Anytime, I used to be, every corporation had me speaking for them, all the big names. Now
Mhm.
HR won't let me go into any of the big companies. Oh, they say I'm a sexist. If you say men and women are different, you're a sexist today. If you go to I was teaching at Harvard and teaching at Stanford, elite universities, and I got kicked out. You're a sexist. Okay.
This is
You're
so
not,
very unfortunate because you're far from being sexist. And unfortunately, this crazy narrative is prevalent in this world right now. But
oh, my message is getting out there. Yeah, I'm getting millions of views. My TED talk, by the way, any women listening and you want to introduce a guy into these ideas, guys are so sort of resistant to relationship advice because it's always making men wrong. And mine doesn't make men wrong, doesn't make women wrong, doesn't make men wrong, just points out what we don't know and gives you biohacks, solutions that can actually make your relationships work. And there's a fun talk. It's my TED talk. It's called Mars Brain, Venus Brain. And it's very funny. It's 20 minutes. And
you're in the
then,
right shirt.
was that in the
You
red
are,
shirt? Yes, the one
yes.
in the red shirt. The one in the red shirt, I had an audience of 500 couples. I was even planning to do the talk on a whole nother subject, and I saw 500 couples. I'm talking to them. I did another TED talk in the Bay Area to a bunch of people who don't believe in marriage. So,
Oh,
or marriage between men and women. It's a very eclectic area that people that came, they weren't coming to my talk. They were coming to an event where I was one of the TED speakers. And it was a good talk, but nothing like the other talk where I have an audience who's laughing and enjoying and relating. Because you can't really relate to my material unless you've been in a relationship with a man. A man and a woman have been in a relationship together. It's just a different dynamic, and that's my specialty, is that dynamic. And we have to keep focusing on that. Otherwise, the birth rate's just going down, down, down. Um,
yes, and we don't want that. That is for sure. So I am so thankful to you for expressing your thoughts and not being afraid, because nowadays people, there's no free speech. We are afraid to even talk about certain things.
yeah.
So I thank you for that, for your bravery in talking about it and writing about it. So I hope that our listeners and viewers learned a lot today, and also those who will be parents, who have little children, and even older children, that you will be able to share this information with them.
You know,
So,
I spent a lot of time talking about this thing about pornography and masturbation.
uh-huh,
So let me just finish that. What's the alternative? I
mhm,
started getting into that, practicing meditation for males. But there's a thing, once you get to seventh grade, eighth grade, the eighth graders are going to give you the most dysfunctional information, and everybody's masturbating. And uh, it's a biological thing you can't control unless somebody teaches you how to do
mhm,
it. So mothers can know this, fathers can know this. At a certain point, when the boy is going through puberty, his testosterone levels are going up 10 times. Okay. So
mhm.
first of all, if your boy doesn't know he's a boy, like I was telling him, you can be whatever you want. Don't worry about anything until he's puberty. That's why I have puberty blockers, because if you go through puberty, it's only a boy has the same hormones as a little girl up into puberty. So it just depends on how they're being told who they are, encouraged and Mommy's going to be happy if I'm a little girl,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But it's at the puberty where it goes up 10 times. A boy feels what it feels like to be a masculine. And for a girl, she has her period. That's when she starts having a difficulty in life because her feelings now have to be uh, dealt with. Before that, she can push her feelings down. She tends to be more compliant with the mother, but then there's issues with the mother around puberty for her. But that's where her female hormones are kicking in when she starts having her period. It's a adjustment. So that's when you're going to know for sure what you are. So just for people to know that. In China, what they do when a little boy, there are, if you have certain traumas happening to the mother, certain foods, toxic foods can
Mhm.
cause confusion of their identity, sexual identity. And so a boy, only one testicle will drop.
Mhm.
That means he's not really clear about his masculinity. He doesn't have enough testosterone. They just give him testosterone and it drops. Okay. So, I'm not in favor of taking hormones, but rather than telling a little boy, here's some hormones to be a little girl, why don't you give him hormones to be a little boy, what he's designed to be? And it works. What I would do is realize that it's the psychology of the parents that affects the children the most. And when mom is making dad a man and man is treating mom like a woman, he's a king, she's a queen. When you can have that beautiful relationship, then it's an easy transition for children.
And
Uh,
children emulate their parents.
that's right.
Yes.
We learn everything by copying our parents. It all goes, we absorb it all. So, what to do when puberty comes along is boys will start getting these erections. And other boys at school will talk about, did you get your erection? Did you masturbate? What's that? And they say, oh, just put your hand and go up and down like that. And you go up and down like that, and then you squirt something out, and it feels really, really good. So they're going to teach them that. And what you want to teach your child is before they teach them, or even after they've started teaching them, uh, when you have an erection, if you want to be smarter and you want to have more power in life, more confidence, when the erection happens, you you stroke it on the top, okay, on the top like this. Never go up and down, otherwise
Mhm.
you will lose your brain power. But just go like this, and don't tell anybody about this because everyone else is losing their brain power, and I want you to be smarter than everybody else. It's just a little fun thing to convince them. But this is the thing. If you go on the top part of the penis and just rub it and see if you can do that for 5 or 10 minutes. So you give complete permission. If hard by itself, then you just do this. And after a little while, it becomes soft and you're done. No addiction to masturbation. These kids are addicted. All you have to do is this and you're addicted.
That is a great information.
It's very, very important. I didn't invent that. I wish I knew that when I was a kid. I learned about that in China from ancient Chinese wisdom. Uh,
Mhm.
this is how they taught people to deal with that. What are you supposed to do once you've masturbated? The addiction, it just makes you want to do it more and more and more. And all it takes is to see sex, even though you don't understand it, naked women, whatever. Suddenly, this thing starts happening because it's all in our wiring. Naked woman, uh, at that age, get erect. And then you just do this one little technique. It'll naturally get soft and you'll feel really good. Don't do this. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing it with us because I know that many people will truly appreciate it. They may not even discuss it, but they will truly appreciate it and implement it, in fact.
And just for all the men out there who only last for 2 or 3 minutes, or 8 minutes, even that, if you would like to last longer, because ultimately vaginal sex stimulates every organ in a woman's body. Okay. And it takes time. Levels open up, different points come out and they're stimulated. So you have to last long enough inside of her for her to get all the benefits of intercourse. Uh, and if you just do a couple of minutes, it's not giving her what she needs. So if you want to be able to last longer, what you do is you focus on feeling the pleasure. Oh, now I can feel more love and expressing that love and talking. That brings it up. Uh, I briefly talked some of the things you can talk about, how much I love you, how glad I am. You can also, when it's going along at a certain point, you can talk about whatever projects you're doing. And I'm so glad we're going to be doing this. We're going to be so successful at this. And when you're smiling, it makes me so happy. I'm glad, this kind of stuff. You don't have to become those, you have to become quiet. You have to become unconscious to intensify. You want it to last long and be joyful and be ecstatic and be orgasmic. It's amazing what couples are missing out on. But for the man who can't last, this is the premature ejaculator, he can also practice this. When he has never look at something to get turned on. Your body will get turned on naturally. It's a rhythm we have.
Mm-hmm.
When it's naturally turned on, you're just getting an erection. Don't look at a picture, but just go, oh, my body has an erection. Then stroke it up like that, and look at the clock and say, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes, and then see if you can make it last for 20 minutes. Okay, and just not ever trying to peak, just staying very gentle, not trying. Don't use fantasy. As soon as you use fantasy, you're out of balance. You're not with reality. This is very practical tools to cure premature ejaculation.
And it is possible to train the body to do it.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Fantastic.
I was a premature ejaculator. Okay. I was just like, when a man, particularly men who are on their female side, their estrogen goes very high very quickly. And so when you have a lot of emotion, estrogen goes up. And when it goes too high, the testosterone goes down. And that's the spasm. That's the ejaculation. So, some guys, if a woman can't be more feminine, it's a whole dance of the woman. If the woman is more feminine than the man will last longer. Okay. And then when the man rises up in his own feminine more than her, he will ejaculate. So that's if you have intercourse and she hasn't yet built up her feminine energy, his erection is feminine energy. Men cannot have an erection unless their estrogen goes up. So if his estrogen is going up more than hers, he will be a premature ejaculator. So part of it is making sure she's doing the foreplay to where she can always have more estrogen than him. And women's estrogen goes up when she feels I can depend on you to do what I want, what I need.
Now we know how to raise estrogen and testosterone and how to lower it. It is fantastic.
Yeah,
well, Dr. Gray, I hope that we can talk about your fantastic book, Beyond Mars. This is your latest book.
Yeah, that's where I talk all about those hormones. And
yes. And I hope that we can continue this conversation next time. Okay. And for now, we must say goodbye. Yep. But for sure, we'll be talking next time. So please stay tuned to us. We will be talking about all of these important issues and those that you have found the answers today and more to come in the near future. So thank you for staying with us on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM on Be Honest with Dr. Yana. Thank you for being with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.